Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining BLG 18. I'm Paul B. You know MJ over there.
Hey, folks.
So today's
No. Stop what you're doing. I'm registering a complaint with the whoever edits this, and I do believe that is you. And my only complaint is that I looked at the bloopers, and they're only me on the bloopers. Now, I find it hard to believe that I'm the only one. I mean, I don't ever remember holding my book upside down, but that never made a blooper.
I disagree.
And by the way, you should buy the book. It is very, very good.
Thank you.
That aside.
But that blooper is out there.
I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to go back and find it. I would be happy, at least, fair play.
Look, I am all for fair play.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. There we go.
It's out there. Okay. Folks, if you don't see a blooper about my book being upside down, send us a comment, let me know. Because I know I put it out.
All right, if you say so.
Okay.
All right, I have to believe you because you're in charge. Okay. So what we're talking about today is what happens, you did you went through your thought process, you asked a few people, you feel strong about it, you decided to put some sort of an 18-month thing out there to show you where you should be in 18 months, a business plan. And now the next phase is, all right, how much money do you need to get through the first 18 months? Now, take a hard look at it, come up with a number,
right,
and it's wrong. I know it's wrong. I'll tell you right now, it's wrong. Double it.
Yep.
Just double it.
Yep, I have been there.
Okay, so we all have. You never, for some reason, you think you're going to need nowhere near as much money as you really do to get these things up and running and be successful. So that's almost, to give it back to you, Paul, it's like, you borrow the neighbor's clubs.
Right.
And you go out and hit a few. And say, yeah, I like this pretty good. Maybe I got to, and I go, well, you should probably get a new set of clubs. And there it starts. Explain what happens.
Okay. Well, actually, quite simply, your parallel is right on track there. Most golfers, once they've hit the range a few times, maybe they've gone out and played a few holes somewhere, they've done something where they kind of get the bug and they feel like, oh yeah, I think I'd like this. I like the friends I'm playing with, so on and so forth. And then they have to decide, how much money do I want to spend to get this game started? Now, they don't know. The only thing they can go by is what their friends have. And I'll pick that up a little later. I think your part of the discussion is better to start with, though.
Okay, well, but just as a side note, when I took a lesson and I talked to the pro, we happened to be my uncle. I asked him, what kind of ball should I be buying? He looked at me, he says, with your swing, anything on sale. So I said, and again, thank you for your support.
Right. I think I understand what you're telling me.
But that's the truth, though. That is the truth.
That's right.
I didn't need to hit a Pro V1 or anything like that.
That's right.
Not at that point. I'm not in the striking the ball in such a way that I need that. So
that's right.
Anyway.
As a matter of fact, I got to tell you, I don't think when I was learning the game, I don't think my father and I ever bought a ball.
Yeah, you always found them.
Yeah. Whatever we found, we played. And back then, the compression ratios weren't so distant like they are today. You can play a super soft Callaway, but people don't realize that a super soft is barely 50 compression. All right. So
now explain what compression means.
So compression, quite simply, is when the club hits the ball, it squeezes the ball, and then it springs off. The higher the compression, the tighter the ball is. You need more swing speed in order to compress it to make it do what it's supposed to do. The average golfer, and the beginner golfer, has no swing speed. I mean, you're talking probably under what a 50 compression ball.
So you're telling me I should be hitting a tennis ball?
No, that's too much compression.
Okay.
But the whole idea would be like, a super soft is a great ball if you want to play a Callaway, if you're a beginner, because it's only a 40 compression. But there are balls out there for about $18 a dozen that are between 30 and 40 compression. And that's all that's required when you're a beginner. You get up there and it's easy. All you got to do is Google it, and they have compression charts all over. Take a low compression ball. Don't spend a lot of money. If you find balls, and honestly, you're doing yourself an injustice by playing a ball that you can't compress. That's the easiest way to put it. So it's worth the 5 minutes to go, oh, okay, I can play this ball, and this ball as a beginner.
So back to what I was saying.
Anyway, but yes.
Yeah, you need twice the amount of money, but you also need a narrative, a really descriptive narrative. Just looking at the numbers isn't enough for people to see. They need you to discuss it, and they need to look at the market you identified and everything. But the big problem is, where do you get the money? Now, there's other ways. You get the money. You can borrow from a friend, or you can borrow from your brother. I don't recommend both of those because it never works out. You can actually borrow from your parents. That seems to work out better, because if something does go bad, you're their son or daughter, and
Yeah, right.
and it happens. It comes out of his inheritance anyway. So or you could get a second mortgage on your house, or
Yeah.
you can tap, if you're lucky to have a 401, tap that. Take out, borrow against it. Don't take it out, just borrow against it, and go to the bank and look whatever else equity you have. But you can also, the worst thing you do is borrow it against your credit card. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that is suicide.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go through all those things and you say, oh my goodness, what am I going to do for this kind of money? How much am I going to borrow? What risk am I putting the family in to do this?
Mhm.
But if you really, really feel that you have something there, if you really, really, and you've gone out and you've made some calls and it looks like something's going to materialize, and
Okay.
you need money behind you to get the thing, you need an office, you need a phone, the bare minimum to get you going, but you see the promise of getting an order right away, then you'll need different monies for either to do the billing or whatever it is.
Mm.
So yeah, be very careful. But I'm telling you, if you say you need 20, you're lucky if you only need 30. And you got to remember, you got to get 18 months in this project. And
Right.
when you first start, how many months when the expenses start do you see your first actual revenue after you pay all your expenses?
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and people forget that, and
Yeah.
I hate to be so negative about it, because I've started a lot of businesses in my time, and I don't think there's anything more thrilling or more of a rush than you start a business and it's successful and it's growing, and you got a handle on it, because it is a rush. There's no question about it.
Right.
It is a rush.
Well, let me stop you there for a second. So you're saying that it's better for someone who's starting a business to use their own money as opposed to getting someone else's.
Oh, absolutely. And all because of that, it caused hardship. Because whether you say you may tell them it's a loan, and they may even think it's a loan, or maybe you're giving them a piece of the business, if it doesn't work, it's a loss. It's a loss. It's a loss. It's not a loan. You're not going to pay it back. The businesses are going to pay it back, and you lost a friend. So is it worth it? That's up to you.
No, okay.
Now, if you have somebody that says, here, I'll give you 20,000, go ahead. You say, no string attached. You may be wasting it. You may lose all of it. And he really understands that.
Right.
Well, then fine, take his money. That's
okay.
But
so basically you're saying keep as many unattached strings as you can.
And make sure your expectations are extremely low when you represent yourself when it comes to money.
Okay.
Now, what happens next? Well, you get the money and you have the money. Now you got to look at certain things. Any new business, I don't care what they are, should be looking at the same time. You should be looking for either state or federal grants, plus also community or village grants. They all have them.
Right.
And
I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, they do forget it. And I understand that. But I played in that circle for quite a long time. And the reason behind it is all these state, federal, and county and villages are looking for startup businesses that will hire employees. And remember, put that in quotes, hire employees.
Hire employees, right.
No matter what you do, you're going to be hiring employees.
Right.
And there you can fib a little bit. You could say, well, I'm starting out with 2 employees, and hopefully in 18 months, I'm going to have 12 employees. They get delusional and right along with you, and
Right.
and they get excited, and nobody really calls you on it if you didn't get to the 18. You can always explain it why it didn't work out.
Right.
But in the meantime, you get a low interest loan. And the nice thing about those low interest loans, especially with a town or a village, if you need a little extra time on a month payment, they're not very good at collecting bills. I'm just being
okay.
yeah, they're not good bill collectors. So, I mean, if you need a little extra time or you can't do this, they'll work with you because they don't want, well, for one thing, if they give you the money, they don't want to look bad if you don't make it. So they will work with you to make it, all right?
Yeah, and that's actually really good that you would have a helpful partner at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing is that people don't understand what they do. If you're a minority or you're a woman.
Oh, yes.
If you're a woman and a minority, that three-quarters of your troubles are over because there's all kinds of money for startups for a minority, especially minorities and a woman. You hit the trifecta.
Yeah.
I shouldn't call it trifecta. I should have the daily double. Trifecta.
Daily double.
Okay, so it's a daily double. Anyway, and then what you have to do, but remember, that also involves, I would suggest you start your business, start doing it, and what little money you got, and then once you have some sort of a track record, along with your narrative, then I would put together a proposal, or actually just ask them, and they'll give you a form to fill out. They always have forms.
Okay.
And they're not like the bank. The bank, you go to the bank, and the theory with the bank is that they keep asking you questions until they can't say no anymore.
Oh, okay.
But the federal state, they want to do with you, and sometimes they'll give you the answers to help you come up with the right scenario to qualify for the loan.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
So that's where you are, and then you can rest assured you have the money to get your business cards. Maybe you have to do a little bit of advertising. Maybe you need to whatever it is to get your stuff. Depending on what you're doing, maybe it's light manufacturing. You need to buy inventory, and remember, inventory is manufacturing. Offering a service is probably the least expensive, okay? You go in, you do a service, you get paid. Unless your service is, and here's a little tip, if you do a service like you go in and talk to people about what their organization should be doing next, or there are all kinds of different ones out there.
Okay.
Always make sure you have a contract. Always make sure you get the upfront half, because the trouble with it, and I hate to say this because I've seen it happen to me, when they bring you in to look at a corporation and you start dissecting it and telling them what's going on or what isn't going on, usually the problem ends up with the person who hired you as the problem. And they never see it until you bring it up and you dive in. Right. So consequently, getting paid makes it more difficult.
Yeah. Yep. So, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
These are all little tiny things that you don't, you know, and you may not have any of these problems.
Yeah. See, because I remember the first business, there were these tiny little expenses that just kept popping up like popcorn.
Yep.
Just little things. But after a couple months, you look at especially if they're recurring little things, you know, like in today's world, you know, back 30 years ago, you didn't have to worry about paying for software every month. You didn't have to worry about, you know, you got Adobe Acrobat, that was it. But now today, monthly, you have all these different subscriptions that you have to deal with. And in business, you want these good business tools. And God, I can tell you, man, those little things just add up so fast.
Yeah. And like I said, probably the cheapest way to go if you want to start a business is consulting. After that would be if you bought a product that you're going to resell. And the third hardest one is if you're doing light manufacturing. And it may be something stupid. You're putting pogo sticks together in your garage. You buy the parts and you see there's a market with it. You sell them to local toy stores and stuff like that.
Sure.
And you're making good margins. And but there again, you have to be careful because one, that's great for what you're doing. But then when you go to a bigger store, they're going on different terms. You know, they're going to want a deeper price and you know, quicker turnarounds. And you have to make sure, and the biggest problem for a new business is how do you cover the receivables, and how do you cover the product coming in to replenish the product that you sold.
Right.
So, and that's a product. So,
yeah, because like you mentioned, you know, especially because I know you can also use your income toward your receivables toward a loan from the bank. If
you can. If you get a large order, let's say you get lucky enough and you get a large order from a company and you don't have the finances to buy the product and make the product, then you go to the bank. And what they do is they put together a program where they assign the PO to them. Mm-hmm. They give you the money to make the product, and then you pay back the PO less your profit to the bank. Okay. So let's say the PO is for $10,000, but you know your profit's going to be $2,000, so you borrow $8,000 from the bank.
Okay. And
then when the money comes in, you pay back your $8,000 with some kind of interest, and then you go forward.
Okay. Now, that is the bank is kind of going under the premise that these people aren't going to cancel or.
Well, don't worry. They do it. They do a deep dive on the customer.
Yeah.
You know, if it's somebody like a Target or something like that, right. You know, they're more comfortable. But if it's Joe Schmo's shoe shack on the corner and he gives you a large order, you know, that may be difficult for you to take.
And a bank would look at that and go,
yeah, that's right. I'm not sure how valuable this PO is.
Right. Right. You know, that makes sense. Yeah. So at that point, you're better off go to the SBA, you know, talk to them.
FDA is good. FDA is good, but they seem like a little more of they're a little bit harder to do. You have to go online and look for grants in your community and in your state. Okay. And the FDA is a little bit more complicated.
I keep saying FDA. I meant SBA.
Sorry. Yeah, SBA. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, they're working with them is trying to move an aircraft carrier in a swamp. Now you may be better off, right, with using them. Right. But you know what you're doing, or you hope you know what you're doing, and you have a strong narrative. And you may have a small book of business, but you can show where your business is going to go from here. Mm-hmm. And then it gives you the confidence to go out and do it. A lot of times people also, quite frankly, when they do this, because they are short of cash, they keep a part-time job.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is that a smart thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, if you have a family that's depending on you, and maybe you have your wife for some reason doesn't work, or you're not married, and you do have, maybe you have support things you have to do. You get a part-time job. That way it keeps the knock away from the door. So, because you don't need that on top of what you're doing, because let's face it, the anguish, the anxiety, that happens when you start your own business, and all the multiple levels of problems that you can find. And that's when you don't even look for them. As you know, Paul, there are just all kinds of issues that come up. Yeah. And the first thing you say, what? I need that? Yeah, you do. Yeah. And you can't get around it.
Yeah, because you can't do enough research on starting your own business to figure out all the little things that you're going to need.
That's right.
Yep.
So, but business, and quite honestly, in the climate right now, and I'm not making a political statement by any means, it's going to be really tough for somebody to go out on their own. It's going to be really, unless you found yourself a really nice niche market that you feel you can grow in and expand in, and that's great. You know, but just be careful. That's all.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because you can buy a car on Amazon.
Yeah.
So now you pick up, you go to your Prime and you go, oh, this car looks pretty nice. I'll take it. Yeah, they'll deliver it, which is what Carvana used to do. They still do it, but now it's Amazon doing it. So now all these dealerships are all just gonna.
I actually saw one of those Carvana that's actually it was about 12 stories up, and there's cars and elevators.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe vending machine. It's a vending machine with cars in it. I could not believe that. I said, are you kidding me? They really do have vending machines with cars in it.
How about that? Which actually is kind of fun, I guess, in a way, but that's part of it. That's part of Carvana's shtick is we have a vending machine, a really tall vending machine that has cars in it.
It's something to talk about. It's an icebreaker.
Right, which is good. you know?
Now, the next thing when we're going to be talking, and we'll talk about golf a little bit more, but the next one I want to talk about is networking.
Okay.
And what you have to do about networking, because quite frankly, without the networking, without you going in and saying, hey, Bob gave me your name,
Right.
and he'll say to you, oh, Bob is a good friend of mine. That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then he'll give you the time of day that you need.
Right.
Yeah, I've had experience when I first started selling. I can't remember what chain it was. I go in there. I was young, just out of college. I was nervous, made the call. I'm sitting across the buyer. And in the middle of my presentation, he falls asleep. Yeah, he fell asleep. So, I mean, what do you do, right? I didn't know what to do. He's young, you know.
Hit him with a spitball.
Well, yeah, you know, and now I would have thrown something at him.
22 years old?
You know, I would have thrown something at him.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, but at the time, I left my sample and I walked out of the room. He was dead asleep. I tell you, that really did good for my ego.
Wow. Oh, I can imagine. Oh, my God.
I said, what am I doing? Oh, my God. The guy fell asleep.
Yeah, okay, there's something dry in my approach.
Yeah. I'm doing something wrong here. You know, either maybe next time I call this guy, bring a cup of coffee to help wake him up for this.
And then if he falls asleep, throw it in his face.
Yeah, you know. And you know what really made me mad about that? He should have felt bad about it, called me and gave me an order, but he didn't.
Yeah, right.
He probably didn't even remember I was there. So that happens.
See, now, because now you mentioned networking. So when I left college, I had my resume, you know, and back in those days, all you could do was mail it out. So I had done a sports show. I was the director, the producer. I was the on-air talent. I did the shooting. I did the editing. I put this whole package together. And every week on a Friday, I had a sports wrap-up of the school shows. And this ran for my whole senior year. And then at that time, the New York Stars had started to play women's basketball. And they were playing at a gym in Queens College. And I got hired to shoot the highlights for the local NBC and CBS people. So on my resume, I'm looking at all the stuff. I'm going, wow, I've got some nice things that I can offer people. Well, as naivete goes, if I say I sent out 500 resumes around the country, I got an answer to one. One guy. Lou Sable from NFL Films was the only one who sent me a letter back and said, you know, when you're out there and you get some solid experience, you know, give me a call. And he put his phone number down.
That's that old chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
How do I get the experience?
Yes, right. So how do I do that?
Right. Everybody says they're young. They want experience, but how do I get experience?
Yeah, but how do I get it, right? And I found out that going into television, unless you knew somebody and honestly knew somebody, going back to what you were saying before about networking, if you didn't know anybody, they didn't even look at it. It literally just went like that, right into the circular file.
Yeah.
And I found that out from a guy at CBS in New York one day because I had gotten his name and his number, and I called him, and he asked me, you know, who gave you my number? And I said, oh, I researched it and I found it. And he goes, ugh. And he took a deep breath and he said, let me just tell you that unless somebody recommends you that works here, I won't even look at it. And you can pretty much guarantee outside of some of your smaller local, either network affiliated or not network affiliated, that's the way it's going to be. You really need to start off in the small markets.
Yes, you have to start out in a small market.
Yeah.
You won't make any money, which means
right.
you probably need a part-time job to supplement it.
Yeah, to supplement it, right?
That's how you start.
Right.
That's how you start.
Right. And then I got lucky. I didn't go into production. I ended up going into satellite communication, and that started a 40-year career.
And you know, you're going to have doubts about yourself. We all have doubts about ourselves.
Always.
You know, I remember there was a phase, I don't know, I was in my 30s or something, that, you know, I don't know if I'm any good at this. And there was a franchise show. It was a franchise that went town to town.
Right.
And they had all these booths of different franchises you can buy.
Right.
And they were looking for a salesperson. So me and about 30 guys showed up at a hotel for a talk about it.
Right.
And he says, and so somebody asked them, you know, what is it? And they wouldn't tell us.
Right.
And they asked us, well, what do we do? Make appointments for the guy to come across the street. But we don't know what we're selling. No. They just gave us some guidelines.
Okay.
So the very next day, we're out there. Maybe it started with 15 or 20 of us, and the guy would sit down. Guy would walk in. Booth was completely empty.
Okay.
And he says, what are you guys selling? And I get into a spiel. And he says, what is it? All I can tell you is it gives you this kind of return. And it's a great opportunity for you. Right. If you want to see it, you just go across the median here into the hotel room over there, right, and they'll go over the product with you.
Right.
Now, by noon, 2/3 of the guys were gone. They said, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm selling. I don't even know if it's any good.
Right.
And by the next day, there's only 2 of us left.
Wow.
And by the 4th day, before we left, the guy came and handed me a check for $4,000. I said, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, you had so many guys come over there, or you had them enticed them much to go over and look at something. He said, matter of fact, I'd like to offer you a job if you can come with us from city to city to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go travel and sell.
Well, yeah, I get that.
But then he says, would you like to know what you were selling? I told him, no.
No.
He said, really? Absolutely, I don't want to know. Thank you for the check.
Right.
And it was an interesting 4 days.
Yeah.
But now I have the ability to sell something when I have no idea what I'm talking about.
And that goes back to your brown bag theory.
Same thing. Mm-hmm. Same damn thing. Mm-hmm. It was probably one of the best things I've ever done. I really felt good about myself afterwards. And to this day, I don't know what it was. To this day, I do not know what it was.
Right.
But it was quite a gimmick they used. We're the only booth with nothing in it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it kind of reminds me of like the old Amway days.
Yeah.
Right, where you would say to somebody, hey, listen, I got a business opportunity. I don't know if it's something you're going to be interested in, but if you'd like to take a look at it, I'm having a meeting on, but whatever. And people would come over and, you'd have 3 people sitting there, and then the person comes in and, 2 minutes into the thing, somebody, and he says, is this Amway? And then 2 people leave, and there's 1 person there who never heard of Amway, and they listen to the whole spiel, and they either like it or not.
Yeah, Amway. What was the other one? The lady thing. They drove the head sellers drove around in a pink car.
Oh, Avon.
No, Mary Kay.
Oh, Mary Kay.
Mary Kay was the pink
car.
Pink
car, right?
Yeah. My only problem is that after a while, people get a call. Would you like to come? We're having a party, and they say, "Oh my God." And I have to go because it's a neighbor, and I have to buy something because it's my neighbor, and I don't. That's like, when you see your neighbor is an insurance man, you hurry up and run in the house. I just don't.
I know.
That's why I could never do anything like that. I could not do anything like that.
Yeah. And then Pampered Chef came, and Pampered Chef was something my wife liked because she could buy some kitchen utensil stuff, and she loves cooking. So
But as I remember, Pampered Chef, they got they weren't cheap.
No, they weren't cheap. No, but
I think my wife bought a pan. We still have it, so it must be good stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, no, from what I remember, they had good stuff. All right, well, I was going to mention the golf side, but why don't we do that next episode?
Okay.
All right.
All righty.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for listening.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.
And look, and please, and tell us if you see their blooper with the upside down golf buck in it. And did you bring one to show them right side up?
No. Why would I do that?
I know. That would only make sense. Okay. Have a nice day, everybody. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.